Hey, Love in Space. I'm Kinoah. I went to Love in Space when I was your guys' age. I'm actually in ninth grade. I'm in grade 9 now, so I'm a freshman. I go to COM High School. And quarantine has been a very interesting experience for everyone, I think. We're all just trying to figure out different ways to learn and grow, even though we're stuck in our own homes and we can't go to school and learn things. So Abby asked me to shoot a video for you guys today and try and teach you something new. So with me, I have a good friend of mine. His name's Ka. He is a ball python, and I'm going to tell you some facts about snakes and ball pythons today. So Ka is a royal python. Well, I call him a ball python, though. That's what most people call him, because when they get scared and threatened, they tighten up in a really tight ball. So he's actually about 4.5 feet. So he can get in a ball about yay big, about the size of a size 3 soccer ball. But he's 4.5 feet, and I'm 6'3". So think about that. He's from like to my toes up to about here on me. So he's a really big snake. And ball pythons, they can grow to about 4 to 6 feet in captivity. And yeah, it's pretty crazy just because I've only had him for he's about 7 years old, and I've had him for about 6 years. And yeah, it's crazy how fast it's gone by because I remember the day I got him. So that's just funny to think about. They actually live up to 30 years, so he's going to be alive for a while. But he is known for being a very docile animal. Ball pythons are a really great starter pet for anyone who's looking to get a snake. I would recommend either a ball python or a corn snake if you're thinking about getting like a baby snake or something like that. He eats rats at the moment, but smaller pythons will eat mice, and bigger pythons will eat bigger mice or bigger rats than he eats. He eats about adult medium, but he can handle an adult large rat. We just haven't moved him up to that yet because it's a whole process. You feed him rats about, I'd say, once every 10 days, so a few times a month, really. So it's really easy. You're not like your dog every day feeding, you know. And they actually have this thing where most reptiles, since they're cold-blooded, they go into hibernation for the winter. But ball pythons, they don't go into hibernation. They just stop eating. So Ka has not eaten since November. And it's April now. It's the end of April. So he hasn't eaten for 6 months almost. It's been almost 6 months. And he went 6 months without eating last year. And it's not something you need to worry about unless they start losing body weight. He hasn't started losing body weight yet, so I'm not concerned. Yeah, they're just really beautiful animals. They're great to look at. They're entertaining. You know, you can hold them every day for recommended about 20 minutes a day, because then they can get kind of agitated if you hold them for more than that. He's only bit me once. It was my bad. I went on vacation, so I couldn't feed him, and he came back and he was hungry, and he bit my finger. I deserved it. I had no hard feelings. Still love him. But they can go up to, I've heard of pythons going a year without eating, so I'm not concerned about him not eating at the moment. He is not venomous. Don't worry. He is a constrictor. So what he does is he lunges at his prey, the rat, and then he bites it and strangles it. So he wraps himself around it. He's really strong. He's way stronger than me. He's probably about as strong as 5 of me. So he's a really strong animal, and you don't want to mess with him. But he's still really safe. You know, he wouldn't hurt me, except for the time he bit me. You know, it's not something that they do. They're very docile, loving animals. And then, you know, one of the coolest things about ball pythons is there's so many different breeds. You know, this is just the most common. This is just a royal python, but they have like white ball pythons. They have white and brown ball pythons. They have silver, just like metallic silver up and down the body. You can look up different ball python morphs, and then you will see a lot of crazy different ball pythons. So it's super cool to look at different ball python breeds and what some breeders are doing out there. So they're from Africa. They're from Central Africa. So they're from a really hot climate, and it's also really humid. So what we have here is this tank back here. It's got a heat lamp. It's also got a humidifier, because in Washington it's a lot colder than it is in Africa, and it's not very humid. It's just wet. So we got to make sure his tank is always set up to fit his needs the best they can. Ball pythons typically, I would say they shed at least once a month or every other month. So what happens with snakes is their skin can't grow with them because they have scales. So what happens when the snake eats and grows is it sheds off the top layer of skin or scales, so that the bigger, more grown layer of skin underneath can come in and take the smaller skin's place. It's kind of like hermit crabs when they're growing and they switch shells once they grow bigger. So I have some sheds that I'm going to show you once I put him away in a couple minutes, but that's pretty cool. You know, and they like to bask in the heat. They typically rest at about 80 to 90 degrees during the day and then 70 degrees at night. So they are used to a very hot climate. But they're cold-blooded animals, so they really need the heat. He has a heat pad for the winter when it's extra cold. And he's got 2 heat lamps too for when it gets wintry cold, because they are cold-blooded animals, so they can't actually regulate their own body temperature. So he's actually kind of cold right now. He's kind of like a warm ice pack. So it's like if you've taken an ice pack and it's been out of the freezer for 20 minutes or something. So he's still cold. He's just not freezing, and he can't regulate his body temperature. So he has to use the climate around him. So he uses me as a heat pad. He uses the heat pad as a heat pad, and then when he doesn't want to be as warm, he just goes off of the heat pad and cools down a bit, which is pretty neat. Let's see, what else? What else is there? There's so many about these animals. They're great starter pets. So if you're going to get a starter pet, I would recommend ball python, corn snake, things like that. And let's show you guys some of his older sheds. So he's about 7 years old. So I've been keeping sheds since then, but I've only really kept the big ones. So this is one that I've Mod Podged onto an old piece of board, old piece of flooring, and it's actually a really clean shed. You can see his head there and go all the way down, and then it breaks off right about there. So he was a little bit longer. That was in 2015. I wrote the date and stuff, but that's not even his biggest shed. He's probably, since he's 4.5 feet, this I think would be his biggest shed. If you want a little bit of reference, once again, I'm 6'3", and it comes down to my knees. Oh, he almost fell. I just caught him when he almost fell off the bed. That was close. Yeah, so they're a really cool, beautiful animal, you know. They got all these different shades of brown. They're very curious. Once you hold them and they warm up, when you pick them up, they're usually hiding because they're nocturnal. So during the day, you won't really see them move around much. You won't see very much action. Typically, he'll be waking you up in the middle of the night when he's crawling around trying to get out. But during the day, they're just balled up, and then you take him out. Like he was all balled up before, and now look at him. He's alert, awake. He's all over the place. He's exploring, flicking that forked tongue out, trying to pick up his senses. Since they have the heat sensors on their head, they also have a forked tongue. So when it comes out, it spits in different directions, and you can sense things from both directions. So that's pretty neat. You have to regulate their humidity too. They like to sit at about 60 to 70% humidity. And if you don't sit at the right humidity, then they actually will get blisters on the bottom of their stomach. And he's actually had blisters before. We had issues with the humidity and vacations and stuff like that. We weren't able to regulate his humidity as well as we would have liked. So then you have to put cream, and it's a big fiasco, and then it gets infected, and you have to do injections, and that's not very fun. So you really got to be careful when you're taking care of these animals, because they're a great starter pet. You just got to give them a lot of attention, even though it's really easy to forget about it because they eat, you know, once every other week or once every week and a half, and you fill up a dish with water, and you replace it a couple times a month. They're really easy to keep out of your head, so you just got to make sure that when you take care of them, you're handling them daily, ideally, but not around feeding time, because that can be not fun for them and just kind of deters their urge to eat if they're being handled right before or after feeding time. I move him into that small container right there for when he eats, because you don't want the snake to associate you coming to his tank with feeding time. So if you feed him in his normal tank, then when you go to pick him up and hold him, then that's when he bites you. So what you want to do is you want to get a separate, smaller container with a heat pad so he can stay warm. Put him under there, cover him with a towel, and then you feed him with a frozen rat. We use frozen rats because live rats can actually harm the snake. They can like bite and claw, and we don't want him to get cut up or hurt at all. So what we do is we freeze rats. We buy frozen rats, and then we thaw them out in some warm water. Then we feed it to him. His heat sensors pick up the warmth of the rats, and it's been thawed out and put in warm water, and they strikes that, strangles it up. It's super neat to watch. Yeah, so that's Ka for you. I was hoping to bring him into school to show you guys, because that's what I've been doing with some of the previous classes, but I didn't get a chance this time. So hopefully, if you guys are around for K2 next year, we can make that happen. But we'll see what happens. If you guys have any questions, email Abby, and maybe if we get enough questions, I can do a part 2 and answer some of you guys' questions. I also have some friends that have other reptiles like geckos and stuff like that, so I'll talk to them and I can see if maybe they want to film a video and talk about their reptile too. So, hopes quarantine's going alright with you guys. This is Kinoah and Ka signing off for now.